The day Victor Hayes went airborne, I knew Willow Grove would never be the same. He was up there for a good 3 seconds, arms flailing like a cartoon VY lane, before crash-landing face-first into a wheelbarrow of cow manure. All because he thought he could pet our bull, Duke. That 2,000-pound Angus didn't even blink, just let out a sneeze that hit like a fire hose, followed by a nudge that sent Hayes tumbling over his shiny loafers. As he lay there, groaning under his clipboard in a pile of mulch, all I could think was, Ellen's gonna need more Febreze. We never meant to stir up trouble when we moved to Willow Grove. Ellen had her heart set on a quiet retirement-neat sidewalks, HOA-mowed lawns, neighbors who'd wave but never linger. For us, it was supposed to be paradise. I'd grill burgers on Sundays, and Ellen would join a book club that skimmed novels over wine. Simple. The only wild card was Duke, our massive bull who thought he was a Labrador and loved miles to VYS more than grass. He'd nap in our backyard, splash under the hose like a kid, and lick delivery guys so hard we got blacklisted by UPS. To us, he was family. To the HOA, he was a horned felony. Trouble started 3 days in. A fancy envelope showed up, stamped with a daisy and the word "saw" notice of non-compliance saw in swirly font. Ellen read it at the kitchen counter, next to our old butter churn we use as a utensil holder. "They're calling Duke a hostile livestock animal," she said, squinting at the paper. "Says he's a threat." I snorted. His worst crime was licking a kid at the bus stop. The kid giggled saw. Ellen's face tightened. "They want it gone, Jim, or we owe due $7,000 a week. That's more than our pension." Duke wandered in, slobbering on the counter next to a meatloaf, and Ellen scratched his ears like she always did when he looked worried. We tried playing nice. I called the HOA, got bounced around 5 times, and finally heard a nasal voice say Inspector Victor Hayes would VY sit for a temperament evaluation. That sounded less like a chat and more like a showdown. When Hayes arrived, he was exactly what I'd pictured. Skinny tie, khaki starched to a razor's edge, clipboard clutched like a holy relic. He didn't smile, didn't blink much, just strode to our fence and started scribbling. Duke watched him like he was a weird squirrel. Ellen offered lemonade. He waved it off. Then he said, "I'll assess the animal up close." Ellen warned, "He's gentle but big. Might bump you if you got snacks." Hayes ignored her, stepped into the yard, and pulled out what I later learned was a protein bar. It happened fast. Duke sniffed the bar, strolled over, and unleashed a sneeze that could have hosed down a barn. "Hey, mucus," and who knows what blasted Hayes' face. He yelped, tripped over the garden hose, and then Duke gave a playful nudge just to tap. Really. But for a guy with the balance of a drunk flamingo, it was enough. 3 seconds of flight, then saw into the manure. I laughed so hard I collapsed onto a bag of potting soil. Ellen gasped. Hayes staggered up, dripping and red-faced, screaming, "This beast is a menace. You'll hear from the board." He stormed off, ignoring Ellen's offer of paper towels, while Duke trailed him to the gate, snorting like a confused puppy. That night, over sweet tea on the porch, Ellen stared at the gate. "Think he'll really try to take Duke?" she asked. "He looked pretty mad midair," I said. "We can't lose him, Jim. He's ours." I nodded, but the next morning, the nightmare hit. I went to feed Duke, and the gate was open, not busted, just unlatched. No Duke, no tracks, just hoof prints fading toward the road. Ellen cried for the first time since her dad passed. I scoured every field called animal control, checked neighbors' yards. Nothing. Then, taped to our mailbox, a daisy-stamped HOA note. Saw problem resolved. No further action needed. Saw that's when it turned into war. By noon, Willow Grove was buzzing. Ellen stood on the porch like a general, handing out flyers with Duke's dopey face next to a scarecrow he once tried to befriend. Her book club morphed into a search and rescue crew, armed with yoga mats and granola bars. They'd never touched a farm animal, but they were all in. Ellen mapped out the neighborhood like a battle plan, assigning quadrants. I wasn't buying that Duke just wandered off. He was lazy, loyal, never left our yard without us. An unlatched gate? No scuffle. It screamed sabotage. I combed the backyard and found it. Muddy footprints by the gate, too big for Ellen's, too small for mine. They led to a crumpled HOA pamphlet same kind Hayes had been pushing, with his greasy thumbprint on it. I laid on the counter like Evy Denke. Ellen stirred her coffee, skeptical. "You're saying Hayes snuck in and let Duke out?" "He's been gunning for Duke since day one," I said. "Called him dangerous, then this? Not a coincidence." She didn't argue, just sipped her coffee, staring at the door. Our first lead came at 4 p.m. A kid 3 blocks over swore he saw a giant black cow with a nose ring on the golf course's 9th hole, crashing a putting contest. One guy fainted. Another chucked his club into a pond. Duke had trotted off, dragging a golf cart cooler like a trophy. Ellen's squad hit the streets, calling his name Wavy Incorn. I drove around, grilling joggers and mailmen. Zilch. Then I stopped by Dr. Lila's clinic on a hunch. She'd been Duke's vet forever, the only one he'd let near his hooves. "Not here for flea meds, are you?" she asked. "Duke's gone." Her face fell. She pulled me in her office and shut the door. He showed up at dawn, groggy, drooling like he'd been drugged. She pointed to a half-eaten protein bar in a container. "Found this in his teeth. Tested trace amounts of acipromazine, an animal tranquilizer." It clicked. Hayes' protein bar. Duke's escape wasn't random. It was a setup. Hayes had dosed him, let him loose to look wild, then let the HOA claim the problem resolved. Ellen nearly cracked the counter when I told her. "He framed our bull," she said, pacing. "And now he's pushing that dog park again," I added, remembering an HOA flyer about repurposing lots. A charter clause let the board seize property if an animal was deemed a threat. This wasn't just about Dookie, it was about our land, Hayes' power trip, and whatever grudge he had against anything with fur. Ellen grabbed her phone, rallying her book club, PDA moms, even the spin class crew she'd outshone in Halloween decor. Dr. Lila hid Duke and offered to testify. "If Hayes catches on, he'll go ballistic," she warned. "Then we go bigger," Ellen said. We planned a neighborhood barbecue, inviting everyone HOA board, local news, and Hayes. We'd show Duke's gentle side on camera, expose the tranquilizer scheme, and trap Hayes publicly. Ellen made a guest list on floral paper, doodling tiny horns by our allies' names. Risky? Sure. But we weren't just fighting for Duke, we were fighting every HOA fine over a wrong color mailbox. Barbecue day crackled with tension, like the air before a thunderstorm. Ellen was up at dawn, clipboard in hand, muttering names like a coach before a big game. We had burgers, hot dogs, vegan sliders for the snooty couple down the street, and enough potato salad to feed a small army. Duke, rested and gleaming, arrived in a livestock trailer with a pet therapy banner. He stepped out like a king, chewing slowly, blinking at the streamers. Our yard was a festival. Signs read "Saw Willow Grove Animal Appreciation Day saw," and a podium sat on a milk crate. Ellen's book club nailed the decor, and the smell of grilled meat drew a crowd curious, polite, perfect for our bombshell. Hayes showed up in his usual khakis and smug grin, circling like he was hunting for a violation. When he saw Duke munching carrots under a tent, his jaw twitched. "This is against code," he muttered. "Try the sliders, Vic. They're as stiff as your bylaws," I said, handing him lemonade. The news crew arrived, hooked by Ellen's pitch about suburban pet therapy. Hayes' smile faltered. Ellen glowed like a TV host, kicking off with speeches. She thanked the HOA's dedication. I shared how Duke mooed outside a neighbor's window during her divorce, like a beau VY therapist. The crowd laughed, warmed to Duke, saw him as we died a sloppy, big-hearted friend. Then the trap sprang. Ellen stepped to the podium. "Victor, you bravely assessed Duke's temperament once. Care to show the community on camera?" Hayes froze, like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Not necessary," he stammered. "But Vic," Ellen said, sugar sweet, "you insisted. Unless you're scared." With cameras rolling and neighbors watching, he was cornered. He crept toward Duke, hands shaking. Duke blinked, chewed, and lowered his head gently. Hayes touched his forehead. Duke snorted softly. The crowd cooed. Then it happened. A tiny VYL slipped from Hayes' pocket, hitting the grass. Dr. Lila pounced, holding it up. "Veterinary grade acipromazine," she said. Same sedative in Duke's system when he escaped, like the residue on your protein bar. Hayes went white. I don't know what that is, he blurted. Ellen stepped closer. So you just carry livestock tranquilizers to barbecues? The crowd hushed. The news anchor whispered to her crew. The camera zoomed in. Hayes tried to bolt, but the vegan lady accidentally blocked him with a chair. He mumbled and fled. Within an hour, the HOA board suspended him, muttering about ethics hearings and trespassing charges. Ellen offered everyone lemonade, smiling like she'd won the lottery. A week later, the HOA found a dusty bylaw letting therapy animals stay if they posed no threat. Dr. Lila certified Duke after he licked a mailman into hysterics. Duke became a star. Ellen started Saw Bulls and Bagels Saw, where folks petted him, ate breakfast, and spilled their hearts. A teen with anxiety said Duke helped more than therapy. A widower brought apples weekly, saying Duke gave him purpose. Hayes sold his house and slunk off, replaced by folks with an emu named Daisy, Duke's new pal. Ellen joined the HOA board, pitching less paperwork, more pasture. It didn't pass, but it got laughs. I built Duke a shelter with a fan, hay dispenser, and Miles to VYS on loop. He still hated kale, still licked strangers. One evening, as barbecue smoke filled the air, Duke strolled up, locked eyes with me, and rammed our new HOA-approved mailbox. It tipped over with a groan, landing like a drunk ballerina. Ellen stepped outside, saw the dent, and laughed so hard she dropped her lemonade. So what do you think? Was Victor Hayes just a power-hungry jerk? Or did he have a point about bulls in suburbia? Should HOAs have the right to ban animals like Duke? Or is that overreach? And let's get real, would you fight for your pet like we did, or cut your losses? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you're Team Duke, and subscribe for more wild tales. Let's hear it.